for my great challenge. How you all doing? It's my happy place. It's Thursday night. It's sewing night for me. This is my me time. I am not a professional seamstress. I am teaching myself how to sew garments, and I am sharing my journey and experience with you while I make my very first shirt. The pattern is McCall M7838, the A5 option, and I'm making option or view D right here, which is a bell sleeve type shirt, and then I'll make the one in the front, which is basically the exact same one except that it's gathered at the wrist and there is cuffs on it. So we'll do that at a later time. But anyway, I am here to tell you that I have made the color, and this is actually recorded after the fact. Well, I still have a few stitches to do. And the reason why I didn't film before I started sewing and after is probably because I looked like hell that day. Something like that. But I'm glad I did, because in retrospect, it was difficult. I'm really learning to sew. This is my very first shirt, and the reason why I picked this pattern is because I am learning to make collars and band for buttons, buttonholes and buttons. I've never done that before. So this is my very first collar. And I have to tell you, it's not hard at all. It really isn't. What's hard is figuring out how they interpret the steps in the graphics on the pattern instruction. McCalls, if folks need me to try to interpret what you meant, we are in trouble. I mean, really, I got really frustrated, and eventually I got it. I didn't make any like mistakes where I had to redo the whole thing, but I really had to sit down for quite some time to try to figure out what on earth they meant. So I totally get it. If you tried to sew before and tried to teach yourself how to sew, and you got into a hurdle like I did, I can see why people would quit, because the pattern's instructions are very frustrating. They're very vague. They're not clear. I still think they made a mistake on it. We'll get to that, as to, you know, the symbols where the interfacing is and all of that. I get it. I totally get it why some people quit. But I'm not a quitter. I'm here to learn. And again, I'm here to share how I'm learning and my experience, because I want you who are dreaming of learning to make your own garments one day to understand that this is the process that you're going to go through. You have to pull through this nonsense and figure it out. Well, I figured it out for you, so that's going to be easy if you're sewing along with me. But don't give up. I can totally see how people would just give up after this experience, but I pulled through. I did the color, I made it. So everything you're going to see after my blah non-stop here is going to be something that I pre-filmed already last week. I just have a few things to do on the color itself, because I just had to walk away after a while. So you'll see those close-ups at the end, and then me again to show you the final product. So without further ado, let's get started and get frustrated together. We're making a collar. I made it. You can too. Let's go. So this is where I left you the last time. We have the front and the back assembled. And with the front, the last thing we did was the band right here where the buttons and buttonholes are going to be. So what am I doing today? Well, I am doing the collar, and I've never done one before. I'm a little scared, but I think I can manage. So this is what we did the last time with the shoulder here. And now we are at number 13, stitch front and back together at the sides. So you can see here, we got to stitch. So I'm just going to do that. I won't film. It's just a straight stitch. I'm basically going to take the shirt off the mannequin and stitch from here all the way down to there. So I've joined the sides and the back together. So here goes, and I flatten the seam right here. So now I have pretty much a shirt that would be sleeveless, but without buttons. Like this. Alright, so we have a shirt. The next step is to stay stitch neck edge at top. So here's the neck edge, and we are going to do a stay stitch, and that's basically, I remember in the last video we did the edges right here as the basting. Okay, so we got to stay stitch from here all the way to the other side, and that's basically a 1/8 of an inch stitch all around. It's holding it together, because remember these two pieces here, there's this piece and this piece. This is open right here. Here, I'll show you. You see that? So we're going to do a stay stitch, and it's basically again a 1/8 of an inch stitch along the entire collar, and 1/8 is not a lot. So from the edges we only that much from the edges, so it's not a lot. It's almost like an edge stitch, but it's a little bit wider. So let me do that. Done. So the next step is 15. Stitch the collar sections together, leaving notch edge open and trim. So here are all my collar pieces. I have the collar band, 2 pieces, remember, and one has to be with interfacing, but I'm not doing that yet. We're taking the collar, and the collar, same thing. I have 2 pieces and one has interfacing. And if I look at my instruction, you can see right here that the interfacing, that's the one that has the little dot grid pattern on it, they cut the corner. So the corners of the collar don't have interfacing. So this is exactly what I did here. I cut the interfacing so that I don't have it on this part here of the collar. Otherwise, I guess the point of the collar is going to be too bulky. So how do we do this? Obviously we have to flip it over, so that means that I have to sew it right side to right side, matching my notches right here. So I have my 2 pieces of collar, right side to right side. Here are my notches, so this is considered the side of the collar that is notched, and I'm going to sew those 2 pieces together after I match them properly, of course. From here, make the angle, go all the way over there, make the angle, and go down here. I am not sewing this side. This is the side that I'm going to use to flip it over. So here's the collar, and you can see again that I've left the notch side open. I'm going to give you a close-up so you can see what the corners look like. Maybe you can see the stitching on it right here. Okay, so this is a right angle basically. But since it's gonna have to be turned over, I don't want this bulk right here, the point, inside the corner. So you have to cut your corner like this, but you see how I cut before the stitching, so that way I'm not going to unravel, but at least I don't have bulk. I'm going to remove some of this here inside the collar, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. If I had a different colored thread, you probably would see it, but here's the angle right here, and I'm going to just go ahead and cut this at about 1/8 of an inch from the edges. Cut a little bit here and here. All right, so now I have to flip it over. And what I'm going to do is use my stiletto to get the corner, the point. So let's just flip it like this. And with the stiletto, I'm just going to push the corner. I'm just going to insert my stiletto in there and find my point. Right here. Okay, so now the instructions just ask you to press and baste the raw edges. So let me go ahead and press. And what I want to make sure here is that I press it in a way where the seam is really on the edges. So I'm ready to move on, and I'm reading the instructions. I have no idea what I'm looking at. This is so complicated. To me it is. I know for you seamstresses it's easy. I don't know. We got to turn in 5/8 or 1.5 centimeter seam allowance on the single notched edge of the uninterfaced collar band. Press easing in fullness. Then trim the pressed in seam allowance to 3/8. That I think I got. So here is the neck band that is not the one with the interfacing. These are the 2 notch, these are the single notch. So this side here, I have to turn this at 5/8 of an inch, like this. All right, now you see how it's got a curve right here? Well, if I turn it at exactly 5/8 of an inch, these 2 pieces here match. So that point curve thing disappears. So 5/8. All right, so let me just press with my finger here. And I'm going to do that on the entire band and press it. So next I'm supposed to trim the pressed in seam allowance to 3/8. All right, so we got to remove, let's do it with, it's going to be inside. I don't need to do the pinking shears. So I got to remove parts of this. I'm going to assume it's because they don't want bulky. All right, so I'm going to trim. So now this is getting a little bit complicated for me. 18, and this diagram really is not helping. I have to pin the uninterfaced side of the collar to the interfaced collar band between large circle. Pin uninterfaced collar band over the collar. Base stitch leaving neck edge open and trim. What is this? All right, let's find the pieces first. So here's my collar. All right, and I basted it already, so I have to pin the uninterfaced side of the collar, which is this one, to the interfaced collar band between large circles. So here's the interface collar band, and now, okay, so I guess this has to go this way. Here are my large circles. Pin the uninterfaced collar band over the collar. I have no idea what they want. I have no idea what they want. Okay, I'm looking. Okay, so I know this is the collar right here that I just basted. And that's the interfaced collar band. But at no point in time, because I see that there's a little seam here. You see it? It's a little, it looks like they folded it over. But at no point in time did they ask us to do that. Because it clearly says right above to do this on the uninterfaced collar band. Yet, when you look at it, it looks like there's interfacing, because that's the little grid for interfacing. So, which one was I supposed to do this to? The interfaced one or the non-interfaced one? See, that's driving me nuts. But I have kind of an idea of what they want. I sort of have an idea of what they want, though. I mean, you're supposed to have one piece attached to one side of the collar and then the other one to the other side, and then one gets folded and the other one gets sewn. I don't know. I have to look at my encyclopedia. So it's a good thing that I am a visual learner type person, because I had to just figure it out by looking at the design. So clearly this piece here is the collar. This piece here is the one I just turned, and you see it's shorter than the one that's behind it, right? So this has got to be a mistake, because this shows here that it's interfaced, and they ask us to do that on the uninterfaced collar band. So why are they showing interfacing on this? Okay, so never mind that. I'm going to reproduce exactly this, and this is exactly what they have on the pattern. You have the one that's not interfaced, that we did the little seam allowance pressed and trim, that's on top, and you want to put the collar that we just created, and this has to go right in between the two dots. So the big dot is right here and it's on the edge of the collar, and then the other one, which is the collar band that is interfaced, is underneath. Now notice that this is wrong side up, and same thing with this one. So all layers are basically right sides together. Okay, so now what do I need to do? A stitch, leaving the neck edges open. All right, so in my peanut head, I thought that what they meant by the neck edges open was this here, because that's where the neck goes. And I'm thinking, but wait a second, they asked us to baste the raw edges on this, so it's not that. What it means is that I'm going to stitch along here, but I am not stitching this part here. And I'm obviously, because it's layered, I'm not stitching this part here. So the neck, they meant the front of your neck. All right, your throat basically. Why do you not say the throat? Leave the throat open. That I would understand. So what I'm going to do is stitch, first I'm going to baste the raw edges here, and then I'm going to stitch with the seam allowance 5/8 of an inch, but instead of starting at the edges here where the collar is, I'm gonna start maybe 2 inches in, and I'm gonna stop at 2 inches before the collar. So that way the neck is open. Those 2 pieces here will still be flying, okay? Those 2 little flaps, we're gonna let them, leave them open. So here we go, I basted the edges of the neck or the collar, and I'm ready to do my stitching. And remember, I am leaving this part here open. All right, so I use the basting to guide me as to where I should start, and that's right about here. Now they want you to trim, I'm assuming because this is too much here, so I'm gonna trim it a little bit. I'm gonna remove my basting, don't need it. Okay, so this is done, and now if I open it, I have a long collar band, the collar in between, and a short collar band, right? So what's next? So now I understand what I'm looking at when I look at this. This here is the actual collar with the points, right? And I have the short band I just showed you and the long band underneath it. How about that? All right, so let me go ahead and press it. Okay, so here's another one where I absolutely have no clue what they want. Look at this. It might as well be a manifesto on the meaning of life. It's like, no idea, don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. Anywho, it says here, pin the collar band to the neck edge. Clipping, they don't tell you which collar band, okay? They don't tell you if it's the short one or the long one. Pin the collar band to the neck edge, clipping the top neck edge where necessary, and then stitch. Keeping press edges free. Then trim. Then press the seam towards the collar band. Then you're supposed to move on to here and slip stitch, press edge over seam. So I want you to know that I've just spent about 35 minutes trying to figure this out. And I think I got it. And all of this because I refuse to be defeated. I need to learn. I am learning. I may have it completely wrong. I don't know. Anyway, so this is what we just did. Okay, I pressed this. Now, we're all good. We have the long edge and the short edge. I'm keeping the short edge on top. This is my shirt inside out with my collar, my neckline right here. All right. My understanding is that this needs to go here, very obviously. But how do you do it where I don't have this edge? And I'm thinking, aha, that's what they mean by, let me see, what do they say? Pin the collar band to the neck edge. Okay, they don't tell you if it's the short one or the long one. We're going to assume it's the long one. So you're going here. Now you're going to need to leave a little bit here. All right, why? Because that eventually is going to get folded in. All right, so you pin this here. Let me do that. I'll be right back. Let me pin this so I can show you what I'm talking about. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Anyway, so let me flip it around. All right, you see what I mean? So I took the long collar band and I applied it to the whole neck on the shirt, leaving a little bit on either side here and here. This will get stitched together with a few snips here and there to ease it, to ease it a little bit, and then it'll get pressed so that you'll get this. You'll get the back of the shirt, right? You'll get the collar band here and then the collar. And then in the front, once this is all put together, I'll have to, let me give you a close-up. I'll have to get this edge here the same way that I did with the yoke. This will get folded in like this, and the short collar band for which we did that little fold here earlier and trim will get placed over it, and that get slip stitched. Now on the edges here, we'll do the same thing. This is going to get slip stitched here, and then we'll have those two little bands here, and those will get folded in, and they'll get slip stitched to here and here, right? So I think I got it. So what am I going to do next? Well, I need to baste this and then go ahead and do the stitching. So I think this is what they want you to do, and trust me when I tell you that these instructions are garbage. I'm so motivated and I so want to do it that I'm basically using the power of deduction here, really, more than anything else. So here's what the color is going to look like eventually. That's what it's going to look like in the front here. But this, of course, I'm going to have to make sure I square it nicely. Now what I have to see is whether or not, yeah, I think that this has to go exactly where the edges go here. I don't think that this protrudes out. I think it stops exactly where the front band is, where the buttons are. All right, let me baste and then stitch this whole thing. Then I'll snip a little bit, then I'll trim a little bit, and then I'll do the slip stitching. So technically right now I should have the back of the collar attached. You see that? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my basting. Okay. And I'm going to trim this. Right, and then again you have the short part of the collar right here. I really hope I'm showing you this in a way where you can actually understand. So let's trim this. Because this is going inside anyway. Alright, so what I do want to do though is ease a little bit. By doing little snips here and there. Right, so this is what we just did. This is the yoke on the inside. I'm going to press this here nice and smooth, and then the front band, which is the small one, is gonna go right in front of it. Now when I get to the end here, this is all gonna get slip stitch. This right here will get folded in like this, and the one underneath it, which is the one I just sewn, will get folded in, and all of it would get slip stitched like this. And by the way, one of them right here will get a button, which I may not do because I never close my shirts this close. So or this tight. So what I'm going to do now is just basically press this in so that I can go ahead and by hand slip stitch all of the band, and I will be done with the collar. I can't believe it. And this is one of my issues with the McCall pattern itself, is that they really don't tell you how to finish this part here. They pretty much leave you hanging with this. So I'm going to do little bits at a time, and right now I'm doing the front part of the collar. Or is it the inner part of the collar? Ugh. I can see where this is frustrating, but I got it. Alright, so I'm going to do this part first. Because if you remember, they tell us to leave that open, right? They said leave the neck open, and I thought they talked about the whole collar band, but really they meant the throat part. Okay, just a few more stitches here. Right, so I just did this part right here, and now I'm doing this part. So here's another case of me figuring out how to do it. Instead of folding both, what you do is that you take the one that's on the inside, right? And you're going to fold it over like this. And then this one is the one that you do a little fold to meet it, like this. Okay, so if I remove a few stitch, I have more room. Okay, so now I can do a nice angle here. Alright, so now I bring this back here, and I fold this way. It's very difficult to film. I gotta, no, but that's not straight. Oh, for crying out loud, what do they want? Let me look at this again. Yeah, that's what they want you to do. They want you to fold it over and sew it by hand. Oh. But I'm not good at sewing by hand. Okay, I have a nice point. Let's try to keep it that way. Let me give you a close-up. I still have the thread dangling, but that's alright. Okay, so here we go. Well, you can't see. Let me move that. Maybe against a white background you'll see better. Alright, so anyway. So I did all of this by hand. All of this here. And then on the back, this part here is done by hand. So basically when the collar is pushed down, this is what it looks like. Now I'm gonna do a finishing edge right here and here. One, because I want to secure them a little bit better, and two, because it's kind of flattens and makes things, it's just nicer. All right, so I'll finish that, but for now I'm going to close my thread at the end here, and then I'm going to do the other side, do the finishing edge, and then I'll be done. So here's my shirt, and the color is done. And you can see maybe that I finished it off here, but I stopped the edging up to here. So this is the collar. I'm going to put a pin on it right here so you can see what it looks like when it's closed. Right, so done, and it's pressed, so gotta press this a little bit better here. But basically when it's closed, those two little bands go over one each other, and then, you know, you have all the buttons here. Now, I'm probably not going to close it all the way up like this because I don't like to wear shirts like that. It's probably going to stay open as a V-neck. It's not the greatest job, but I made a collar. It's my first one. Kind of excited, actually. So in the back, it looks pretty decent. I'm going to open the collar a la 80s so you can see what it looks like. And no, there is zero pucker. There's no pucker. Don't have a single pucker on it. So I did pretty good with that. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Alright, so that's the collar. Alright, so right now I'm wearing it over a regular shirt, okay? So basically, oh, I can close it. Hey, I could actually close it. Hey, it fits me. Look, and I'm wearing a shirt underneath it. So looks like the giveaway will be the pattern and not the shirt. I don't know, we'll see once I put the sleeves on, because I gotta be honest, what I'm probably gonna do, let me turn up my machine off. What I'm probably gonna do is make the sleeves a size bigger. I have room here in my arm, but I'm concerned with this part here because, you know, we got bat wings here. So this whole area here is problematic. I have a feeling the sleeves are gonna be too tight on the arm, so I may recut the sleeves. But otherwise, yeah. Look, guys, I made a collar. This is so exciting. Okay, it was not as easy as I thought it would be. Quite frankly, the instructions were not clear. I mentioned that at the beginning of the video, and that's what's really frustrated me. I just don't understand why this part has to be done by hand. Wouldn't it be easier to just do the neckband by machine? You attach it to the shirt by machine, and you just leave an opening big enough for the collar. And then you do your stitches over it as a edge stitch, for instance. You could do that. Why do this where the top of the collar is attached to the band, and then you attach the band and you kind of like flip it over? It just seems to be, I don't know. You tell me down below. Seamstresses out there, do you think that this is what they wanted you to do? I don't know. I'm really having a hard time understanding the particular steps for this. And again, I'm not sure that this whole area needed to be done by hand. It just wasn't clear. So again, this is supposed to have a button, right? So I think for ladies, the buttonholes are on the right, the buttons are on the left. So this would go this way, like this. I have room. This is good. I have room. And again, I'm wearing a shirt underneath it. So yeah, I could actually close it, or I can wear it a la risky business. Listen, I'm having fun, all right? So yeah, I did get a little bit frustrated with this because I did not understand the instructions, but I managed, and this is what you do. You push through the frustration and you just get it done. You know, if you have to undo, you undo. But I think this is pretty good for my first collar. I have to tell you, sometimes maybe the end result is not all that professional looking. Let's face it, I'll never make it to the Christian Dior atelier, okay? But there's some things that I need to be proud of. I don't have any pucker at all. I don't have any pucker on the collar, whether it's the underside or the top side. I don't have any on the band. And that to me is showing me that I think I can do this. I can do this again. Because I was really concerned it was going to be like some folds here and it was going to be a big mess, but it's not. I made it. I have a collar. So this was my little Friday video of me making a shirt and a collar. I'm going to wear it like that at dinner. I will. It's because it's fun. I've made a collar. It's not a big deal to those of you who don't sew. It is a big deal to me who is learning to sew. This is a major achievement for me because I really believe that I was not sewing or learning to sew by myself because of things like this, because I didn't know how to do this. And I figured, all right, I can probably assemble front, back, and maybe sleeves, but color, no, I don't think so. But I did it, and this will go in the books. This is my first color, and I'm pretty darn proud of myself. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. The hand stitching is horrendous because I am not really a good hand stitcher. I explained that, but who's gonna be looking at me like this in this area, you know? Nobody. They're just gonna be looking at this. I'm just being silly. I'm very happy I did it. So next week, sleeves. Next week we're making the sleeves. After that we're making hems and button, and we'll be done. And then what I'll do is the exact same shirt. I will meet you again at the stage where we're almost done, and we'll do cuffs, but I'll just do a video on the cuffs and the sleeves. The sleeves for the other shirt, by the way, the one that's on the front, is the exact same thing. Where is it? I was very surprised by this. You see how the sleeves are here? Okay, this particular shirt has bell sleeves. What you do with this one is that you gather the bell here and put it inside the cuff. Otherwise, it's the exact same shirt. So I'll do everything up to the gathering of the sleeves and the cuffs, and I'll just film that because you don't want to see me redo this process, right? Let me look at the color on here. You can't really see it. Maybe. All right, this is what the color looks like on this view D. Okay, this is the shirt I'm making. And this is what the color looks like. Oh man, I don't want to get too close. Okay. And this is what it looks like on view Sophia. Okay, so here we go. And the points are the same height. Same height. I don't have a crooked collar, so I'm happy. All right, I am done. This was my Friday sewing video. Not hugely popular, but I enjoy doing those videos. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye. Hey, it's me, and guess what? Click that thumbs up if you really like this video. Thumbs down twice if you didn't. You can also share my video if you really liked it, or save it to watch later. Also, you can subscribe to my channel, but don't forget to click that bell button so you are always notified when I post a new video. Thank you for watching.